everybody, welcome to The Garage, the court of public opinion. Peter Clayton's behind the camera. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux, and we are posting on Facebook. And the audio from our Facebook posting is our podcast, a new one every single day. And of course, live streaming on Friday, jeremycordeaux.com from the dining room table. I know, it's weird, bizarre. Anyway, here we are, middle of the week. As was widely predicted, interest rates are on hold. Let's see, 12 hikes, 6 cuts, 60 holds. That's sort of the Philip Lowe legend. He ends his tenure with these facts and figures. And for my money, he ends it with dignity and success. Interest rates, 4.1%. Back in the Keating era, we would have killed for interest rates of 4.1%. Inflation, 4.9%. It's getting down to the band, which is the 2 to 3 band comfort zone of the Reserve Bank. Still some work to do, obviously. But Philip Lowe can hold his head high. He can. Still don't know why he didn't get another term. But anyway, I don't pretend to understand too much about this government. The GDP figures out today. Too early for me to recording this to actually see what they're about. But they were expected to be pretty close to zero. That's zero growth. But we'll see later on today. Any growth is good growth. We'll take anything at the moment. Backpackers are on their way back. About, I think it was, no, don't quote me on the figures, but it was about 20,000 this time last year. 120,500 backpackers have applied for visas this year. Now, how many of those people will stay in the country, God knows, but good to have them back doing the hard yakka. Isn't it interesting? We haven't sort of bred enough people of pioneering stature to do the hard work. We have to bring people in from outside. Anyway, somebody has to do the work. The industrial relations legislation, workplace legislation, whatever they want to call it, that this government is so intent upon pushing through, continues in Parliament. The whole thing is quite contentious, particularly with construction companies falling over all over the place. But just to take one part of this legislation, let me zero in on this same job, same pay clause. Same job, same pay. It sounds pretty reasonable until you look at it closely. Some people have more experience. Some people are better at some jobs. Some people have more skill. Some people are superior. Let's face it. How do you reward these differences or advantages? Obviously, you want them under your roof. Well, the way you do it is pay more. The reward is greater, which means, of course, the incentive is greater to excel and exceed the performance of the people around you. Why would anyone want to take that incentive away? I guess there are some people in the world, sadly many of them in Canberra, who want for us, not them, for us, a drab, grey, dull, boring world where everyone is the same, gets the same. No achievers, get rid of them. Ha! Ha! A capitalist system, which I tend to embrace and have all my life, a capitalist system works on reward and incentive. Socialism or communism works on fear and force. Which would you rather have for yourself and for your children? Anyway, we'll watch this legislation with interest. One size does not fit all. Alan Joyce, head of Qantas, has decided that he will leave the company today. A surprise move. One can only assume it is because of the public odium, the public criticism he's been subjected to in recent times. We were just talking about reward and incentive, of course. One of the most contentious aspects of Alan Joyce's relationship with Qantas has been the bonuses, the very generous bonuses, and of course salary and perks. Now, I am all for, as I just said, reward and incentive. But for Alan to be given a bonus last Friday of $10 million, $10 million would seem excessive to my mind. He was well paid to do his job. Qantas turned a very nice profit recently, and that was with Alan at the helm. But then again, that was Alan's job. That's what he was paid for. Don't know why you need to pay excessive bonuses when a person is being adequately rewarded and incentivized through his or her pay packet. I guess that's open for debate, and it would depend a bit on what the agreement was in the first place. But if you're going to reward somebody for making a profit, then you should also have the capacity to cut his or her salary if he doesn't make a profit. Good luck with that.
He's still in line to get 24 million, isn't he?
Oh, in his total, I haven't got the figures in front of me, but his total remuneration from Qantas would be about 127 million, all up.
Yeah, but he's getting 24 million as a sort of final payment, I think.
Well, there could be that, but I know that not so many weeks ago, in fact, about the time that the ACCC announced they'd be looking into some of the booking arrangements for Qantas, he sold a great big parcel of Qantas shares. But it's not to diminish his significance to the company, because I think when he came to the CEO's chair, the shares were about 11 cents. And in my memory, not that I watched the share market a great deal, but in my memory, in his 15 years at the helm, the shares were about $7.80, something like that. So for success, I've got no problem with people being rewarded, but you've got to keep it in perspective with all of the other employees. Now, I brought this Richard Marles matter to your attention last week. This is the matter of his extraordinary use of military aircraft. They are members of parliament, ministers particularly. They are allowed to use RAAF aircraft when there is no alternative available. Well, that's my understanding of it. But for some reason, the Deputy Prime Minister, Richard Marles, simply refuses to give any details or accounting for this $3.5 million bill that he has run up. This is what we were talking about last week. The opposition were firing questions at him on Monday. The Greens got stuck into him yesterday, all to no avail. For example, why did he hire a private jet at taxpayers' expense, $16,000, to fly from Brisbane to Sydney to watch the Matildas play soccer? Now, how is that the business of the taxpayer? Snouts in troughs. Ladies and gentlemen, snouts in troughs. It's amazing how history repeats itself. Look at this Yes campaign. The TV ad that has been produced using the John Farnham hit song, You're the Voice. You know, it all reminds me, sadly, of 1972. Now, many of you looking would not, or viewing would not have any recollection of what I'm about to say, but just give me a bit of rope here. 1972, the hoopla, the bullying, the almost mass hysteria, the cheer squads, the recruitment of celebrities. I'm talking about the It's Time campaign to get Labour and Gough Whitlam elected. Now, I'm sure many of you would remember all that nonsense. I was doing a national television show at the time for Channel 10. Everyone of any profile was, and I will say it here, stood over. Yes, stood over to take part in that ad. You remember that ad and that song? My God, they were well organised. You say no to being in that ad and you will be doing your career damage. That was the clear message I got. Not ambiguous. Management, the union, people were bullied left, right and centre. Your big chance to be on the right side of history, they said. God help us. All the polls, of course, said, and correctly, that Labour would win the election. The problem, of course, was that Australia had been through an unprecedented period of prosperity and growth and calm and stability. With the exception of the Vietnam War, life could not have been better. But Australia had become bored, apathetic, complacent. We had taken good government for granted for something like 30 years, and we had no idea what Whitlam was going to do to the country. Australia voted in Labour and got chaos in 1972. And that ad, the slogan, the It's Time hoopla, played a significant part in Whitlam's victory. I think probably Anthony Albanese is this generation's version of Whitlam. I see all the signs, the elites, the intellectuals, the academics, the glitterati, the celebrities, all getting in there behind the government. Part of the Yes campaign, and I find this interesting, part of this Yes campaign is to brand their supporters as intelligent, better educated, more likely to have gone to university, more sensitive, smart. Thereby, of course, branding the no supporters, like me, as rednecks, dumb, poorly educated fools. Forget the campaign for the moment. This crazy idea for an Aboriginal voice to Parliament to fix all the well-known problems that beset Aboriginal people, most brought on by lifestyle choices, could be fixed by Just another group saying what the minister knows only too well. Bizarre. All the 1972 It's Time signs are there. I don't know how many years it took for Australia to get over Gough Whitlam and his chaotic government.
Still haven't.
No, there are still aspects of it. Yeah, there are still aspects of it out there. He sowed the seeds for the land rights business, which resulted in the loss or the handing over of 55% of the land mass of Australia.
Loss of manufacturing.
A loss of manufacturing, absolutely. Yeah. The Lima Declaration, all of that. Gough Whitlam's chaotic government. But we surely should learn something from history. Doesn't matter how good the ad is, or how great the song is, or how catchy the slogan, the proposition from Uluru, the voice from the heart, and it dressed up to be just a minor change, a modest request, when in actual fact it is probably the most drastic, dangerous proposition I have seen in my 78 years on earth. And Anthony Albanese, well, sir, I don't know what to say. I'm not dumb. But Pete and I, we're not intellectuals. We're not academics. We're not elites. I am an Australian who loves his country and won't give any more of it away. Your yes vote will fail because there are lots of us, Pete and me. Yep. And the other thing, of course, is you haven't made your case. And also, I am highly suspicious of your real motives. And just a little footnote, I've gone on too long, but anyway, a little footnote I might tell you here, that although I was pretty young at the time, 22, 23, something like that, young and naive, easily bullied, desperately trying to get my foot on the next ladder or the next rung of the ladder. No, I did not appear in that It's Time ad, and I wouldn't appear in that ad, and I have no idea whether it affected my career or not. I don't care. I just know that I have a mind of my own and I will not be bullied. That's simple. Pardon me. Now, Pete, you've got another one of those tags we can throw in.
Jacinta Price's presentation. Very good.
Great. Okay, just a couple of dates and then we'll throw straight to Jacinta Price. September 6. Ernest Tubb died in 1984. He was a singer, country singer, wasn't he, Pete?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, Ernest Tubb. He was 70 years old. They used to call him the Texas Troubadour. He died of emphysema, probably a smoker. Don't ever do that. E.J. Andre died, 76 years of age, cancer, California. He was the guy who played Uncle Jed, I think it was, in the TV series Little House on the Prairie, 1984. Gary Crosby married showgirl Barbara Stewart, both 27 years of age. Gary died in August of 1995. But he got married on this day in 1960. What else? The Beatles slept at the Wertier Hotel in Detroit. Later, two television directors, one was called Richie Victor. I got to get some glasses. Richie Victor and Larry Enheim. They sold for $400. They got the sheets that the Beatles had slept on and they cut them up into little squares and sold them. Well, that's enterprising. Oh dear. You wouldn't want to check the forensics on them too closely, I wouldn't have thought. Oh dear. Joanne Worley, comedian. She was born in 1937 on this day. US piano manufacturers announced that player pianos, the player pianos, were selling like hotcakes all over the United States. Americans bought nearly 350,000 in about 6 months. That was back in 1923. Player pianos. Golly, who would have thought it? Swaziland became an independent kingdom within the British Commonwealth. That was back in 1968 when they, in Africa, kicking out all of the colonialists. God, I wonder how some of those people must long for the stability and the organisation of colonialism. Anyway, be that as it may, I'll leave that there and throw to Jacinta Price. Have a listen.
You are murking at main gilly, ngat nyong yidi Jacinta number Price. I was born in Darwin in the Northern Territory. I have crocodile dreaming from the top end, Yirkapai, Chikapanga, but I grew up in Alice Springs. My family are Warlpiri, predominantly from the community of Yuendamu, where my mum's from. My dad is from Newcastle, New South Wales. He's a white fella, and it's interesting growing up in a household with two different cultures, but recognising what we have in common was always really important for us as a family. And while I might be growing up with Warlpiri culture and modern Australian culture, I belong to this world, just like all other human beings belong to this world, like all other Australians belong to Australia. They're the values that I was brought up with. For me and Colin, as husband and wife, and our boys, and being a blended family, we're a family. Yeah, we come from two different backgrounds, but ultimately it's love that's brought us together, that's ensured that we've been able to bring our boys up in a household that's cared for them, that's loved them. They are now young men creating their own lives, and we couldn't be any prouder than what we are as parents, knowing that they are good men, and there's much for them to offer the world. And it's not because of their ethnicity, but it's because they're decent human beings, and we feel very proud that we've been able to provide the love to give them that.
People question my love for Jacinta because she's a conservative politician, which is ridiculous, because they're not looking at the reason why we're together. It's love. We are one. I will not argue and debate her lived experience, which she's seen and heard with her own ears and eyes. I can't argue that. You've got to live and walk and talk the talk.
Growing up in a place like Alice Springs, a lot of my family experienced violence, experienced substance abuse, alcoholism, and those sorts of things. I grew up in a culture understanding that violence was very much accepted. I spent a lot of time in the town camps where my family lived, and I saw violence firsthand, and I often had to rescue young family members throughout my life, to help put them in better situations or comfort them myself. And I just got to a point in my life where I said, I don't want to see any more suffering. I don't want to see kids suffering in an environment like that. I don't want to see women suffering or men suffering in that sort of environment. So I was very much encouraged by my community to throw my hat in the ring to have a go on Alice Springs Town Council. The wonderful part about that was actually being sworn in by my own mother, who was Minister for Local Government at the time, and of the understanding that it doesn't matter what background you come from. As a human being, if you have the drive and the passion you can become what it is that you want to become. And this country certainly provides that opportunity for you. My mother could be born under a tree if her first language is not English, and she can grow up to become a Minister of the Crown. Well, then I could certainly step up and be a councillor in my community, that's for sure. I'm obliged to fight for some of our most vulnerable people, those that are in remote communities, those whose first language is not English. That is what I have done, and that is what I will continue to do to improve the lives of some of our most marginalised Australians. That's what keeps me going. You know, I might be a survivor of domestic violence myself. I might have experienced adversity at some point in my life. That's not entirely who I am. I am who I am because of things that I've achieved in my life, because I can watch my children now becoming young men and establishing themselves in the world and being confident in who they are. And that is all that I want to aim for in supporting others to feel that way, to be confident human beings who can stand on their own 2 feet and create their own destiny. What's important to me is that we don't divide ourselves along the lines of race in this country. I don't want to see my family divided along the lines of race, because we are a family of human beings, and that's the bottom line.
I never understood love properly until I came to Australia, because Australia allowed me to become something new. It gave me the opportunity to look at me, and it showed me that I could be something better. Now, when we build a home, we have this cornerstone that's there, and that takes and holds everything up. I feel that what Australia gave me, that cornerstone that holds up that thing that I love dearly, is being chipped away at. And it scares me that my home might fall apart, and anybody else coming to Australia will feel that they are not as equal and will not have the same opportunities that I had. And that's not fair. I believe in that cornerstone. I believe in that constant, and I believe in the local fella, because I believe in my kids, and I see my kids grow up to be men who believe in themselves, who will one day be fathers, who will one day teach their kids, who will then teach their kids. And our family is a blended thing. Our family is what Australia is. Australia is that thing where it doesn't matter where you're from in this planet. You can stand in any country in the world and you can say, you could be Aussie, mate. You could be Aussie. I'm quite anxious about how my career will go after me being here saying these things, but I'm here because I love my family. And a line going through my family, I won't stand for that. I won't stand for that.
I was hiding in the dark, looking out for my heart, living in a world full of fear.
I had my head in the clouds, but my feet on the ground. Not sure if I was ready to feel this way.
Lay down your arms,
I will lay me down,
and let me in.
I will let you in.
We've broken all the rules, now it's time to live again.
Later this year, politicians will be asking us to vote on a major change to our constitution. They want to establish a so-called voice to Parliament. This is a really big deal. The constitution is the rule book for governing the country, and they want the rules to change. This is a massive change, and it will mean that some Australians are treated differently based on the colour of their skin. I'll be voting no, because this will not unite us, this will divide us.
It's here where I belong.
Authorised by Matthew Sheehan, Advance Australia, Canberra.
Jacinta Price, ladies and gentlemen. I love her. I think she's a great talent. Great politician. Thank you very much for viewing the Court of Public Opinion. I hope you'll join us on Friday at the dining room table as we live stream 3 hours from 9 o'clock, jeremycordo.com. But we'll be back here in the garage tomorrow for our farewell to the week. Believe in yourself. Pete and I'll be back. Bye for now.